Hello, welcome. Warcraft 3 Reforged patch 1.35 is now out, and it didn't fix the ladder issues. At least 1 versus 1 might be okay, but everything else is kind of scuffed. Custom campaigns are back. I just tested, and it works, so that's good. I haven't thoroughly tested it with multiple custom campaigns, just had a brief go at Last Guardian. You can find this over here at the Hive Workshop. They've now made it so that it's compatible with Reforged graphics. So Reforged models can fit into the campaign if they are there to be there. For example, some of the base models that you will be playing as are designed to be classic models because that's how they were when they were created. So they're custom classic models. So they will sort of stand out when they're put amongst the other Reforged models. And we looked at this cinematic when it began. And it's nice and smooth when you play Classic, and then when you play Reforged, the frame rate just drops like crazy, and the characters are running around, and you've got like these weird sort of super high fidelity characters amongst other classic footman-looking characters with their basic polygonal sort of designs. It works though, so I mean, I'm definitely going to be trying out some custom campaigns and seeing how that goes, so I'm looking forward to that. But aside from the custom campaigns, which is definitely really good to get, I'm very glad for that. Lots of content. There's been a balance update, so they changed the map pool. So have a brief look at the map pool. Come out of here, into the verses, and then you got a leaderboard here. So this works in 1 versus 1 at the moment, but in 4 versus 4 RT, it's proper scuffed. I think, what did I have? I had 2-7 when I started today, because I played some games yesterday before the patch was released, and those games actually counted for whatever reason. And I was leaving games, basically, because I kept getting team killers. So it doesn't matter about 4 versus 4 RT. I'm going to get so many team killers and people trying to spoil the game that I couldn't possibly get a good record in it anyway. So it was 2-7. I think it is counting the games eventually, but not right after I played them, because it was 2-7... 6-8, so I probably did play, you know, about 5 games today, I would say, give or take. And we won the majority of them. So I think it is registering it, but not super smoothly. But the leaderboard's definitely having a harder time. If you look at 1 versus 1, it seems to be working. However, I would certainly think at this point there'd be people that have like about 50 games or 60 plus games. So I think it's doing that thing where it kind of gets stuck, which is what it did last patch. It was stuck. I was stuck at 5,500 MMR. If I won, if I lost, it didn't make a difference. It was exactly the same. No difference whatsoever. It didn't matter. It was basically like how it was before the ranked ladder, because you would just play matchmaking, but there was no ladder. So ladder, I don't know. Anytime you go to 2v2, 3v3, or 4v4, the wins and losses are identical. So it's not registering that correctly. This person might have 13 wins and 0 losses for all I know, but the game just says it's got 13-13. If you go down to me, I've got 6-6, but as you come back, you can clearly see that it's 6-8. And before that, I had like 2-7, and it was 3-3. So, well, it's 2-6 and 3-3. I don't. Yeah, I don't know how they've done the algorithm, but it don't work. The arranged seems to work in quotation marks. I mean, you got 24 games there, so that's more believable that someone could do that. But in 1 versus 1, you would definitely see a lot more games. So the arranged section. Oh, even 3-4. I don't know how that's possible. 16 wins and 1 losses. Oh my god. What a lucker. There's no other excuse for that other than being insanely lucky. That would tell me there's a bug there, to be honest. Right. But the 1 versus 1, it's not showing anywhere near enough wins and losses. So, I don't think ladder's working. You can find games. It's working from that front. But even then, you still get the authenticating bug after you finish the map, and it can't verify the results correctly, so you don't get to see the smooth sort of progression of your bar going up or down as you finish your games. So they still got a way to go with that. Honestly, I don't know how they're going to fix it, because if they haven't fixed it by now, what are you going to do? Coming back to this, map pool updates. Alrighty, let's have a quick look at that. So, there we go. So the maps have changed. I'll just have a brief look at the 1 versus 1s and then we'll look at the 4v4. So this is the 1 versus 1s. There's been some added additions from the Warfree Champions maps that Blizzard have basically used. I guess because they can. I don't think they've ever really communicated with the Warfree Champions team as far as I know. I think they just use the maps. It's just like, well, the Warfree Champions... Remember that one on Warfree Champions? That's one I would turn off normally. So you got a whole bunch of maps. But the funny thing is some of these maps are so massive. Like, look at the size of that. And we played one earlier as well that was like, look, you got maps like this, Feral. It's a kind of nice small map. Quite like it. Nice and cushy. And then I played this one. This is like a freaking 12-player free-for-all or something. And it bugged. Because we had me spawned, like... here, an ally spawned here, ally spawned here, ally spawned here, and an enemy spawned here, whilst the other 3 were on their side. So they've taken the map, but they've not sort of forced the player locations, which is something you have to do with melee games. You have to force players to either spawn on the left-hand side versus the right-hand side, like teams, or top versus bottom, that kind of stuff. So they've not got that correct. Obviously, that's something that can be fixed, but that's just something that's scuffed. And that's probably going to occur for a bit until they do a hot fix, in quotation marks. Leaderboard fixes. I mean, I just showed you season role updates. Apparently, the seasons are going to be like once a year or something. But at this rate, they're going to have to do it like once every 2 weeks by just constantly hot fixing the bugs that currently are with the ladder. Yes, he did. He did still manage to beat my allies, even though he was surrounded by them, because that's my allies. Custom campaigns can be played using either Reforged or Classic, so mention that. They did a front-end menu. Campaigns are now located on the single player. Yeah. Custom campaigns now track the difficulty. That's good, so it's working correctly. Load saved menu, game menu now reloads custom campaigns how fast. Well, that's handy, because if you couldn't load them, you might have to sit there for 6 hours playing an entire custom campaign. Added is cinematic option to the campaign editor. Yeah, that's fine. Ambient support. I'm not seeing anything too important to read there otherwise. Ranked play. The season will roll on January the 19th when it goes live, but we feel we may adjust the end date. Like I say, that's going to be like 5 days time. MMR for all races will be reset during the season rollover. Players will begin the new season with placement matches. Yeah. Updated the map pool. We've seen that. Ladderboard cache-in has been updated to be more responsive. It kind of is more responsive, but it's still busted. Does that make sense? It's still not working properly. It's like it's 20% less jank. Maybe that's what they should put on the title. I've already done the thumbnail for this, but that's maybe what I should have done. Let's just put 20% less jank. The leaderboard will now update correctly. Balance. So, for those of you that aren't aware, there was a bunch of crazy changes. This balance update began with a wide range of changes the team wished to test, some more experimental than others. Our approach to this patch was to take a look at various community feedback with the goal of diversifying strategy and reducing frustration. We then watched and read a community post, and we played a great deal of multiplayer matches on the ladder with player feedback in mind. You played multiplayer matches? I don't know. We then analysed game data to find out what ultimately would work. We put many changes into the PTR build as possible and then playtested and calibrated further. Regarding the Siege engine rework, we wished to experiment with giving a unit an alternative role other than merely killing buildings in 1v1. Ultimately, it ended up overlapping too much with other human units, and due to the loss of its fortified armor, became less unique. We may revisit the Siege engine at another time, but it's not today. Yeah, do you remember that? They made siege engines able to attack units, and then they were able to do worse than the grunt, basically. And they were a tier 3 unit. So then they made tanks a little bit stronger, so they had a higher damage. but they still get killed really quickly by raiders, which... I don't know. No, they're not raiders because they changed their armor. They get killed really easily by any heavy air, despite having, you know, barrage to be an anti-air unit. So it just didn't quite work with tanks. We want to thank all the community members who put all their time and effort into providing during the PTR feedback. We read your online posts and watch your videos and found it all very helpful. Ah, well, there you go. They do find some advice from it. I think some of the changes they make are okay, but I feel like they're just sort of like shooting blind a little bit, and maybe a bullet will end up hitting the target. All altar heroes gold cost was reduced. That's good. Revive time factor reduced. That's good. Means your hero comes out a bit quicker. I feel like it could be almost even quicker from like that point onwards, because it's really painful when your hero dies at that stage to be out of the game for like a minute to a minute and a half. If you've ever played like League of Legends or Dota and the game goes on and your hero takes longer and longer to come out, like, it's a long time to be waiting around whilst they're doing devastating damage. Human, so the reduced cost to lumber for blacksmith, very good. Peasant health increase, definitely good. Spellbreaker, that's fine. Control magic. I don't know if I'm going to go over all of these. You can sort of read these because I don't normally cover like balance stuff particularly. But the gist is human is still trash, in my opinion. They need to have much more significant buffs in comparison to the other races. Orc had a bunch of changes to headhunters to nerf them, and then every consequent patch on the PTR, as they were testing through it, removed bit by bit all the nerfs, until the point where now the only nerf to headhunter is just it takes 2 seconds to come out. Before, it had like an extra 20 lumber cost, or it had like an extra 20, 30 gold cost, all these kind of things, and now that's all. Headhunters are still overpowered, without a shadow of a doubt. Orc is still really, really strong. The only thing that is probably good is the Endurance Aura and the Unholy Aura got reduced. I like to move fast, and it's good for customs, so don't change that. But in regards to like the melee games, it's pretty busted. The movement speed has definitely been obviously very strong as the meta's evolved and players know what to do faster and faster, and if they can get there faster, they can do it even quicker, right? Feral Spirit mana cost increased from 75 to 85, makes no difference whatsoever. Feral Spirit is still insanely overpowered. So, Orc is strong, Human is trash, and Night Elf and Undead are still godlike. I tried Starfall earlier, and it's interesting. In 4 vs 4 RT, it was like ready to go again. As soon as I got it, I activated it on this base with a bunch of towers outside of it. And then I had to get back because I was about to lose my hero. So by the time I healed up, I went back up there. There was 30 seconds left on the cooldown. So I just repositioned myself and used it again. So Starfall was pretty damn strong for 4 vs 4 RT. I didn't even try Fawn's Aura in 4 vs 4 RT. That's going to be bonkers as well. Like, that seems too strong to me. Like, 0.45, that's like half the damage you do, you're going to take that back. So I think Night Elf's pretty busted for 4 vs 4 RT actually now with those changes. In 1 vs 1, I don't think they've got too many differences between buff or nerf. I feel like they've just got buffs to units that they didn't often use, and now they've got more options, and the stuff that they did use, such as Tranquility, that's the only thing that could impact them, was the Tranquility nerf, because that was way too quick off the cooldown. You could just use it as a free heal once you got it, but getting a level 6 hero is not always easy to do anyway. Entangle being reduced from 9 seconds to 9 seconds? 18 seconds to 70 seconds? That's really going to nerf it, yeah. Freaking Entangle. It needs a complete rework, in my opinion. Undead. Anti-magic. We don't know that one. The movement speed got nerfed. That's probably the biggest change to the Undead. Everything else, not too big a deal. That one's actually a bigger deal. Obsidian Statue Spirit Touch Mana Restore reduced. That will be much more impactful in the higher level 1 vs 1 games. I'll be interested to see how that works. They made it so it takes a bit longer to get gold mine, because this is kind of the issue with human being trash, is all the other races have basically surpassed what it was that human were able to do in the first place, fast expand, etc, etc. They found a way to just do it now these days. And I found this when I played human myself. My opponent not only could harass my expansion, kill all my workers, but was also expanding at the same time, without me being able to threaten him at all, because I had to defend versus the attack. that's just the way human is they can't hide their peasants. They move really slow and they're just trash in comparison to acolytes, which move really quickly. Dark Ritual cooldown reduced, but the mana is given less. That's a good change, because at the moment it's been quite strong, Dark Ritual. Seeing a lot of liches power through and just burn through their own units and skeletons to really do massive damage with Frost Nova, because Frost Nova was supposed to get nerfed, but then it didn't. I would have liked to have seen a nerf still go through for Frost Nova, but I think they decided to remove Dark Ritual's damage. But they could have done Frost Nova, because Coil and Nova has always still been stupidly strong at this point. And you kind of want to maybe change the meta a little bit away from Undead being so predictable with Death Knight and Nova. Do you know what I mean? Items, these are pretty interesting changes. They just kind of nerfed auras a little bit, so they're less impactful, which is fine. You don't want your opponent getting like an awesome aura, and then you get like some trash item, like some plus 200 health item or something, whilst they've got like an aura that affects all of their units. For bug fixes, I don't know, that's a lot to read, and I think at this point a lot of it's just stuff that they have to do, and plenty more to do on top of that. I haven't got around to testing Rexar's campaign. I want to do that. They say fix an issue where the client would freeze changing zones in the founding of Durotar. If they actually genuinely fix that, that'd be good, because that was something that was really bugging people that would just want to enjoy the campaign. Because you can say what you like about Reforged. I'm always going to be a classic advocate. I don't care for Reforged whatsoever, really. It's good what Shardy and Luca are doing, though. I really appreciate the effort that they put in. I don't appreciate Luca's attitude, though. He likes his Reforged graphics a little bit too much, and he doesn't like the classic graphics, and we got to disagree on that one. But the effort that they put into the creations that they make is really good, and I always appreciate anyone that can do something like that, because I'm quite a creative person myself. So if you see other people sort of like put effort into the design of their, everything they put in, it's good to see. But you can play the Reforged campaign as a different experience, and I think it really kicks in a bit more once you start to get to the dungeons, like the Chaos Fast dungeon in the Blood Elf campaign, or the Night Elf one. I think it's like episode 5. There's in the Reign of Chaos, and there's a further one in TFT with Maiev. Like, you can play the Reforged for that experience, and Rexar's campaign. I think it pops off a lot more there, because you've got loads of dungeons in Rexar's campaign. So you kind of, when you're playing the Reforged, sometimes the atmosphere looks better. I still always prefer classic, but you can at least appreciate that the detailed models, or not the models so much, more the doodads and the terrain, make it feel more like you're in an actual dungeon. But yeah, we still got issues of stuff just not working, basically. So there you go. Patch is out. There'll probably be another one, because this stuff is still broken. If you can remember anything that they haven't put into the game yet that I haven't mentioned, I'll be interested, because I think at this point they've put in, what is it, the ranked play, the leaderboards, the profiles, the clans, custom campaigns, the stuff that was basically missing in the original game. I think it's in now. The only thing that isn't is tournament mode, but they're not going to put that in, as far as I know. I don't know if there was a post. If you know if there was a post where they officially said they're not putting it in, please link that, because I'd be interested in that. But I think they had no intention of bringing tournament mode. Load and save custom. Did it mention it in there? It did for custom campaigns, but not for custom games. Still missing the old UI. The old UI for what, though? Just generally? As an option instead of Reforged? Yeah. Because I think they just wanted to get all this stuff out there, and then they can say, we're done. We'll see you later. But at the moment, it's still bugged, and they have seemed to have this approach that, despite not, being up to the task, they are trying, I feel, a little bit. More so than we've had kind of in the past. Probably because there wasn't literally a team in the past. That's why it was so quiet for so long, because the original team got booted out, and then there was like a large period of time where they were probably like rehiring to get some people to sort of semi-work on this game. Some models are broken. Yeah, there's lots of stuff that still broke, and I can't see them properly fixing it all. I'm just thinking, like, from Blizzard's perspective as a company, they just want to put this stuff in so they can say to Microsoft, yep, Warcraft 3 has everything it used to have. Obviously, it kind of doesn't, because stuff is broken and stuff like that, but as far as they're concerned, they can say that. Do you know what I mean? Anyway, thanks for watching. Let me know what you guys think. Post in the comments, and thumbs up. I'll be doing a video that'll be coming out on the 28th. That's Warcraft 3 years later. I'm working on that at the moment. That's going to go over the details of what's happened over the last year. It's going to be more simplified. I'm not going to go into every single detail, like maybe... Yeah, there's a lot to cover in that. If I was to do every single tiny broken detail, every model that's not working, that would be too much. I think I want to simplify it more so viewers that aren't so understanding of the Warcraft 3 scenario or situation can get a better grasp of what's realistically happened over the last year from Blizzard's perspective working on Warcraft 3. Alright, thanks. I'll see you later. Bye-bye.